Good morning, Uphill Nighthawks. Here we are with Module 1, Lesson 9. We are going to be rounding to any place value today. So our target is I am successful when I can use place value understanding to round multi-digit numbers to any place value. So in the last couple lessons, we were only doing thousands or 10,000s, and this we're going to be working in all the different place values, okay? And we're going to talk about why would you want to round to certain place values at different times when we work with word problems and depending what we're talking on. So here's our first number we're going to work with. We're going to round this number 3 different ways. Okay, so our starting number is 935,292. For starters, we're going to round this to the nearest 100,000s place. Okay, so here's my 100,000s place. When I look to the right, I see a 3. So if I think about those rounding rules, we should start to think, okay, well, 3 is less than 5. That's going to be rounded down. But we can always check on our number line. So our lower end is going to be 900,000. Our higher end would be 1 million. Halfway point is 950,000. So now we can plot our numbers. So if I have 935,000, that's less than 950. So that would go here. 935,252. So if we're rounding to our nearest thousands place, we would be rounding this to 900,000. Okay. So here's our thousands place, 900,000. So now we're going to round this again, but we're going to round it to our nearest 10,000s place. Okay. So that's going to change our endpoints and midpoints on the number line. So if I look at my 10,000s place, I have a 3. When I look to the right, I have a 5. So that's going to tell us we're probably going to round this up, right? If we have the number to the right of the place value that we're rounding to is a 5 or more, then we round up. Okay, but my low end is going to be 930,000. One more would be 940,000. So that makes our midpoint 935,000. Okay, so now we can plot. I notice that I have 935, because my hundreds place has more, then that means it's going to go just above our midpoint. Okay, so we would round 935,000 to 940,000 if we're rounding to the nearest 10,000s place. I'm going to underline what we rounded each number to. So this one, we rounded it to the nearest 100,000s, 10,000s. So now we're going to round to our nearest thousands place. I have a 5 in my thousands place. When I look to the right, I see a 2. So you can probably think, well, if 2 is less than 5, then we should be rounding this number down. But we're going to check it with our number line, okay? So 935,000 is going to be my lower point. One more would be 6, so my high point would be 936,000. My midpoint is 935,500. So now we can plot that number. 935,200 is less than 935,500. So we're going to round this number down to 935,000. So I want you to look at these three numbers. Okay, so we rounded this to our 100,000s, this to our 10,000s, and then our thousands. We worked with the same number for all of them. Oh, excuse me. So we rounded the same number, but different place values. So you can see sometimes you're going to really need to strategize when you're rounding. If you're trying to get to the closest number as possible to this, but using rounding, which one would we want to round to? We run into the 100,000s. We were about 35,000 off. 10,000, we were about 5,000 off. Thousands, we were just off by hundreds. So when they are asking you to round numbers, about how much did you spend at the store? About how much did you make over the month? You're going to want to try to get as close to the actual number as possible. So when you're rounding numbers, like if we're doing an addition problem, this would probably be the easiest number to round to and add because majority of your place values are zeros. But if we are trying to figure out about how much we spent or used or need for something, you want to try to get to as close as that actual number as possible. Okay, so we're going to do a word problem next, thinking, using that, strategizing. Okay, so here's our word problem. In the year 2012, there were 935,292 visitors to the White House. So we're going to assume that each visitor is given a White House map. Now, we want to use this information to predict the number of White House maps that the White House is going to need for next year, for 2013. So if we're using this information, and it's the same number we just had, right? It's the 935,292. I'm going to ask you a question here in just a second. Would you want to round to the nearest 100,000, 10,000, or thousands, and why? Okay, so if we use that information that we just had, right? When we rounded to the thousands place, it got us closest to the original number as possible, but it was less than the original number, right? So if you were going to try to figure out, well, how much do I need for next year? We would want to round to the nearest 10,000s, because remember, if I have 935,292, the nearest 10,000s, I rounded up because I had a 5 to the right to 940,000. So we would want to round to the nearest 10,000s in that case, because if I rounded down, or if I rounded to my thousands place, I rounded down and I would have less than. So that strategizing of, well, do I want to round to the nearest 10,000, 1,000, 100,000? It all depends on what the question is asking. Okay, so to keep that strategizing strategy in your head when you're working with word problems. Okay, here's our last one for the day. It is a word problem, and we're going to talk through it and discuss which place value would make the most sense to round to. So there are 2,837 students attending Lincoln Elementary School. How would we estimate the number of chairs needed for the school? Okay, so we want to, I always recommend round to 3 different place values to kind of check your work. Don't just guess or assume. Do the work. Work out the problem. Say, well, let's start with our largest value, which is thousands. Okay, so if we round this to our nearest thousands place, I look to the right and I see an 8. So that means my 2,000, I wouldn't round down to 2,000. I would round up to 3,000. 3,000. Okay, so that's our thousands place. Let's round to our nearest hundreds and see what happens. So if I round to my nearest hundreds and I look to the right, I see a 3. So picturing that number line in our head, that means 3 is less than 5, right? So then we would round down to 2,800. 2,800. Okay, so let's round to our nearest tens next. So here's our tens place. When we look to the right, I see a 7. So that means 7 is larger than 5. So we're going to round up to the next place value, whichever place value we're rounding to, which is tens. So because I have a 3 there, my 10 is going to become 4. 2,840. Okay. So when we look at this and we are trying to figure out how many chairs do we need to order, we have 2,837 students. Would we need to order 3,000 chairs? No, probably not. That's a lot of extra, right? That's a lot of extra. Would we round to 2,000? Would we round to our hundreds place, which would be 2,800? No, because that's less than the students that we have. We would want to round to our nearest tens, which gets us really close to the amount of chairs we need. It's not way much higher. It's not less. It's just a little bit more. So that would be the most reasonable number to round to, because then we're not having not enough or way too much. We have just right with a couple extra. So when you're rounding with these problems, I want you guys to round to 3 different place values and use that, kind of talk it out. Well, if I had 55 people coming to a party, I wouldn't want 50 extra of something or not enough. I would want just the right amount with maybe a couple extra would be the most reasonable way to do your rounding. Okay? All right. If you have any questions, please let me know as usual. And we'll be working on this in small groups this week and interventions as well. If you are in my group, we'll be doing some more word problems with these. All right. Keep being all stars, and I will see you guys soon. Have a great day. Bye.